Dear students, you are welcome back to STR Shivarajan's teaching room. In the previous episode, we have been discussing about the birth control measures. Contraceptives are used for, or contraceptive methods are used for controlling birth. The aim is to minimize the growth of population. And the contraceptive methods are of two types: natural methods of contraception or natural means of contraception, and artificial methods of contraception. So the contraceptive methods are of two types. What are they? Natural means of contraception and artificial means of contraception. In the last episode, we had in detail discussed what are the natural means of contraception. And what are the natural means of contraception? Periodic abstinence, coitus interruptus, and lactational amenorrhea. These natural ways, avoid the coming together of ovum and sperm. So these are the natural means. We had a discussion on that. Today we will discuss on the artificial means of contraception or the artificial methods of contraception. And the artificial methods of contraception prevent the coming together of ovum and sperm. And what are the different methods? The barriers, IUDs. IUDs means intrauterine devices, oral contraceptives, implants, and surgical methods. There are 5 different methods of artificial contraception. And in artificial contraception, we use or we make use of some devices, some medicines, the help of experts like doctors, nurses, etc. So, the artificial means of contraception helps to prevent the coming together of ovum and sperm, and it needs the use of some medicines, the use of some devices, and it needs the help of some expert people like doctors, nurses, etc. And there are 5 different ways of artificial contraception. What are the 5 ways? Barriers, IUDs. IUDs means intrauterine devices, oral contraceptives, implants, and surgical methods. Now, we will remove this thing from the board to facilitate some drawings. So, barriers. The first method is barrier. Here we use condoms. C-O-N-D-O-M-S, condoms. Condoms are very, very thin rubber made structures. Very thin or skin thin, we can say. Very thin rubber made structures which are worn over the penis by man, and that type of condoms, another type of condoms are used by the women also, by the females also. So condoms can be of 2 types. What are they? Male condom and female condom. The male condom is used by men. It is worn over the penis. So during ejaculation, the semen is released into this rubber tube and it will not be released into the vagina. So it is protected. And female condom, this is used by the women and it is inserted into the vagina. And the men during coitus, the penis enters into the vagina through this female condom. Again, the semen is not released into the vagina. So condoms can be of 2 types, male condoms and female condoms. And second is diaphragms. D-I-A-P-H-R-A-M-S, diaphragms, P-H-R-A-G-M-S, diaphragms. Then cervical cap, cervical caps. Then vaults, VAULTs. Then diaphragms, cervical caps, vaults, etc. These are small cap-like structures like this, the small cap-like structures. See, this is the uterus. Here is the cervix and this is the vagina. So this is the vagina, this is the cervix and this is the uterus. So small round cap-like structures, are inserted into the vagina. So it is like this. It will remain like this. So these round small cap-like structures are called diaphragms, cervical caps or vaults. They are inserted into the vagina. So the opening to the cervix is closed. The opening into the cervix is closed. And during coitus, the semen is deposited inside the vagina, but the semen cannot go into the uterus. So preventing the coming together of ovum and sperm. So what are the first method is barrier method. Barrier means obstruction. You are creating an obstruction. So the barrier method includes use of condoms. Condoms can be male condom and female condom. And it also uses diaphragms, cervical caps, vaults, etc. These things are round, small, cap-like structures which are inserted into the vagina, closing the cervix. The first method, barrier method, is over. Now we'll see IUDs. IUDs. What are IUDs? Intrauterine devices. Intra means inside. Some small devices are put inside or kept inside the uterus. That is intrauterine device. Device means small equipments. So IUDs are of three types. IUDs are of three types. One, non-medicated IUD. Example, lippus loop. LIPPESLOOP. Lippus loop is an example for non-medicated IUD. Then the second is copper ion releasing IUDs. Copper ions releasing IUD. What do you mean copper ions? These IUDs release copper ions into the uterus. So that what happens? These copper ions decreases the mobility of the sperms. The mobility of the sperms is decreased considerably so that the sperms cannot reach the ovum. So copper ions releasing IUDs release copper ions which reduces the mobility of the sperms. And CUT, Cu stands for cuprum, that is copper. Copper T, Cu7, copper 7. Then multi-load 375. These are examples for copper ions releasing IUDs. So the second method is IUD or intrauterine devices. These are of three types. First one is non-medicated IUD, example lippus loop. And second is copper ions releasing IUDs. These copper ions releasing IUDs release copper ions which reduces the mobility of the sperms. So the sperms will not be able to reach the ovum. So it stops pregnancy. Example is copper T, copper 7, multi-load 375, etc. Then the third variety of IUD is hormone releasing IUD. Hormone releasing IUD. These IUDs release progesterone or a combination of progesterone and estrogen. So the hormone releasing IUDs releases progesterone or a combination of progesterone and estrogen, and this presence of these hormones increases the phagocytosis. Phagocytosis means the cells, an outer, if any cell or if anything enters into the cell, it is eaten away by phagocytes. That is phagocytosis. So the sperm is released into the vagina. From the semen, the sperms move into the uterus. So what happens? These sperms are eaten away by phagocytes, a special type of cells, and it is called the phagocytosis. So progesterone and estrogen increases the phagocytosis, and the sperms are destroyed, or we can say eaten away. So the fertilization will not take place. That means sperms cannot reach the ovum because the sperms are eaten away because they are destroyed by phagocytosis. So the second method is IUD. IUD means intrauterine devices. And here, what is IUD? Intrauterine devices. These are inserted into the uterus. Intrauterine means it is kept inside the uterus. So there are three types of IUDs. One, non-medicated IUD, example Lippus loop. Second, copper ion releasing IUD, example copper T, copper 7, multi-load 375. And third, hormone releasing IUD, example. So the example is progestasert. Example is progestasert. And LNG20. These are the examples. So hormone releasing IUD is example progestasert and LNG20. And how do these copper ion releasing IUDs and hormone releasing IUDs function? The copper ion releasing IUDs releases copper ions, and these copper ions reduces the mobility of the sperms. And the hormone releasing IUDs, that is progestasert and LNG20, are the examples. These IUDs release progesterone or a combination of progesterone and estrogen, and the presence of these hormones increases phagocytosis. That means the sperms are subjected to phagocytosis, they are destroyed. So this is the second method. Then the third method is oral contraceptives. Oral contraceptives. Oral contraceptives. Oral means through the mouth. So oral contraceptive means certain contraceptives are used through the mouth. That means since they are used through the mouth, we call it as pills. The oral contraceptives are otherwise called pills. There are different types of pills. One, Mala D, M-A-L-A, Mala D. Then Mala N, Saheli, these are examples for oral contraceptives. So Mala D and Mala N, they are used regularly to postpone the releasing of ovum. So Mala D and Mala N are to be used daily. Then Saheli is a pill which needs to be taken once in a week. So oral contraceptives are used through the mouth. They are also called as pills. The oral contraceptives are called pills. And there are different types of pills. What are they? Mala D, Mala N, Saheli, etc. Mala D, Mala N, etc. are to be used on a day-to-day basis. Daily it has to be taken. But Saheli is a pill which is to be taken once in a week. So these are the oral contraceptives. So you have to be very careful about these names. What are the oral contraceptives? Short pill Maladi, Malayan, Saheli, etc. Then now we will see the implants. The implants. What are implants? Implants are very tiny, very small, needle-like devices which carry progesterone, the hormone, or a combination of progesterone and estrogen. So what are implants? Implant means to keep something within, that is implants. So implants are minute needles or small needles which carry the hormone progesterone or a combination of progesterone and estrogen. These needles are kept or inserted under the skin. Remaining under the skin, these needles release these hormones. And as a result, the uterus becomes unsuitable for implantation. The blastocyst has to get attached to the endometrium. Then only implantation can take place. But here, by using these implants, what happens? The implants release progesterone or a combination of progesterone and estrogen, and the excess presence of these hormones makes the uterus unsuitable for implantation. So what happens here is, even though fertilization takes place, the blastula or the blastocyst fails to get implanted in the uterus, fails to get implanted in the endometrium, and pregnancy doesn't develop. So implants are small, needle-like devices which are kept under the skin. And how do they work? They release progesterone or a combination of progesterone and estrogen, and these hormones make the uterus unsuitable for implantation. So pregnancy doesn't develop. So there is implants. Then the last method is surgical method. You know, surgery means a operation. So here minor surgery is needed. So surgical methods is done in man and also done in women. In man, what happens? So this is the scrotum. This is scrotum, and this is the testis, and this is the epididymis, and the vas deferens goes like this. So what happens? In the scrotum, a small opening, a small cut is created. Through this cut, this vas deferens is pulled out. This vas deferens is taken out. A small opening is done in the scrotum, and through this opening, the vas deferens is pulled out, and some portion is cut away, some portion is removed, some portion of the vas deferens is removed. And what happens? It is bent and tied back. It is bent and tied back. So it is tied here. The cut end is bent and it is tied. And again it is put inside. Again it is put inside through this opening. So it is like this. Then this opening is closed. It's a very minor thing. This operation takes only. So like this side also. On both the sides. On both the vas deferens, some portion is removed and it is tied up and put inside that scrotum, and it is closed. Total this operation in men, it needs only 15 to 20 minutes. It takes only 15 to 20 minutes, and the man needs to rest in the hospital only for an hour, and he can go back and engage in the normal function, normal routine works. No extra rest is needed. So it's a very simple thing. And since we cut this vas deferens, it's called vasectomy. 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 In man it is called vasectomy. So surgical method is the fifth method of artificial contraception, and vasectomy is done in man. And what is vasectomy? A small portion of the vas deferens is removed and the two ends are tied up and put back in the scrotal sacs. And on both the sides it takes only 15 to 20 minutes, and it doesn't need any rest. A rest of maximum 1 hour is needed in the hospital to check the bleeding. So that's it. And in women it is called as tubectomy. Tubectomy. What happens is, see, this is the oviduct. This is the uterus, these are the oviduct, this is the cervix, this is the vagina. So this is the female reproductive system. So what happens is, the tube, which tube? The oviduct, or we can say fallopian tube. This is the oviduct or fallopian tube. The fallopian tube is cut. The fallopian tube is cut. And the cut end is bent and tied up. It is bent and tied up. So this is called a tubectomy. So what is tubectomy? The fallopian tube in women is cut. A portion of the fallopian tube is removed, and the cut ends are bent and tied up. So that what happens? The ovum released by the ovary is captured by the fimbriae and passes through the infundibulum and comes to the ambulary isthmus junction. But what happens there? The sperms cannot come to it. The sperms cannot come and meet the ovum because the oviduct is cut and tied up. The oviduct is cut and tied up. This is called what? Tubectomy. So it is not as simple as vasectomy. The tubectomy is not as simple as tubectomy. It's a serious operation. So normally this is done along with delivery. Normally this is done along with delivery of the lady. So these are the different artificial methods of contraception. What are they? Barriers, IUD, oral contraceptives, implants, and surgical methods. In using implants, in using IUD, it needs the expertise of a well-experienced doctor or a senior nurse who is well experienced. So in artificial means of contraception, it needs an expertise. It needs the expertise of an efficient doctor or a nurse. So these are the different methods of artificial contraception. So in our next session, in our next episode, we will be dealing with or discussing about MTP. What is MTP? Medical termination of pregnancy. Medical termination of pregnancy. Here we end this episode here at this point. So the birth control measures are implemented through contraceptive methods. Contraceptive methods are of two types, natural and artificial. Natural methods are, what are they? Natural methods: periodic abstinence, coitus interruptus, and lactational amenorrhea. And the artificial means methods are barriers. Barriers, we use condoms. Condoms can be male and female condoms, and cervical caps, diaphragms, and vaults. And IUDs are intrauterine devices. They are of three types. Non-medicated IUD. Then there is lippus loop. These examples you have to keep in memory. Non-medicated IUD example, lippus loop. Then the copper ions releasing IUDs. Example, copper T, copper 7, multi-load 375. Then the hormone releasing IUDs, example progestasert and LMG20. And the oral contraceptives, what are they? They are pills, Mala D, Mala N and Saheli. Then implants are needle-like structures which are inserted under the skin. It releases hormones. These hormones, which hormones? Either progesterone or a combination of progesterone and estrogen. It makes the uterus unsuitable for implantation. Then the surgical methods, of course, what are they? Vasectomy in man and tubectomy in women. So these are the different types of artificial means of contraception. Thank you.